The city lights of Dubai glittered beneath the night sky, their reflection shimmering on the glass walls of the Burj Khalifa. From the top floor, I watched the world that had once been mine, a world built on power, wealth, and loyalty. Yet tonight none of it mattered, because somewhere beyond those lights, she was waiting. Her name was Layla, not a princess, not a socialite, just a woman with eyes that could silence my storms. I met her when my car broke down near a quiet art gallery by Al-Fahidi. She didn't know who I was, or pretended not to. For the first time, I was just a man, not the prince, not his highness. We fell in love quietly, dangerously. I'd sneak out of royal dinners to meet her by the water. She'd bring coffee, I'd bring stories. The moon became our only witness. But secrets, especially royal ones, never stay hidden for long. One evening, as I returned to the palace, my father's chief advisor was waiting for me. His expression was calm, but his words were sharp. "She's not one of us," he said coldly. "You will end this immediately." I tried to reason, but soon I realized this wasn't a suggestion. It was an order. Still, I refused. For the first time in my life, I said no to power. 2 days later, they called me into a private meeting. There were 5 men, ministers, businessmen, and the royal advisor. They offered me a deal I'll never forget. They promised me control over vast projects, wealth beyond my imagination, and even hinted at making me the next in line for a title. But there was one condition. I had to leave her. "She will destroy everything," one of them warned. "You can have the world, Sheikh, but not her." Their words echoed in my mind. The world or her? That night, I went to Layla's apartment in Dara. She opened the door, smiling softly, unaware of the storm behind my eyes. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, I told her everything. The offer, the threats, the future they painted for me. She didn't cry. She just looked at me and said, "They can offer you the world, but can they offer you peace?" Those words pierced deeper than any sword. I realized peace was something I only felt with her. But the walls were closing in. The palace had begun watching her. My guards whispered behind my back. I knew if I didn't make a choice soon, they would make it for me. The next morning, I stood on the balcony of my room, watching the sun rise over Dubai. The golden light touched the towers, the roads, the desert, everything I was born to protect. And yet my heart was somewhere else, beating quietly in a small apartment across the city. I received a message from her that day. It was short, just 4 words. "Don't lose yourself, love." And I knew then, whatever they offered me, it wasn't enough. Because what is a crown if you wear it with an empty heart? I turned down their offer that night. I walked away from the world they promised and walked straight into hers. But I didn't know that choice would come. The morning after I turned down their offer, the air around the palace changed. Servants stopped meeting my eyes. Guards saluted me with hesitation. I could feel it, the silence before the storm. By noon, I was summoned to my father's private chamber. He was sitting by the window, reading letters sealed with golden wax. When I entered, he didn't look up. He only said, "You've disappointed me." Those 4 words weighed heavier than any crown. I tried to explain that Layla wasn't a threat, that she made me better, more human. But he cut me off sharply. "She will never be one of us. Love is not rebellion. You think you're protecting her, but you're destroying yourself." I wanted to scream, to make him understand that love wasn't weakness, but it was the only thing real in a world full of power games and perfect lies. But what could I say to a man who built an empire by burying his heart? That night I went to see Layla again. I found her sitting by the old gallery where we first met. She was painting the sea, calm, endless, and untamed. She looked up at me and smiled. "You look like someone who's been fighting shadows." I laughed quietly, though my chest felt heavy. "Maybe I am." She put down her brush and said, "They'll come for me, won't they?" Her voice was steady, her eyes fearless. I wanted to lie, to say no, but honesty was all we ever had. "Yes," I whispered. "They already are. We made a plan to leave, not forever, just long enough to breathe." I arranged a small villa by the sea in Abu Dhabi, where no one would find us for a while. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope flicker again. But fate, it seems, always listens when you start to dream. The next morning before sunrise, I received a call from my friend Omar, one of the royal security officers. His voice was shaking. "They found her," he said. "They're bringing her in." I didn't wait. I raced through the empty streets, my car flying past the sleeping city. When I reached her apartment, the door was open. The lights still on, but she was gone. Only her painting remained, the one of the sea, and written on the corner in faint gold ink were 3 words. "I'll wait always." Hours later, I learned she'd been taken for questioning. They said she was spreading lies about the royal family, trying to defame their honor. Lies. I knew what it was, and a message to me. I went straight to my father again, ignoring every protocol. "She's innocent," I shouted. "You can punish me, take everything, but let her go." He stood up slowly, eyes burning with restrained fury. "You've made your choice, my son," he said. "Now live with it." That night, I wasn't the prince anymore. I was just a man who had lost everything, except love. I made a vow under that same Dubai sky where it all began. If I had to burn every bridge, I would. If I had to trade my title, I would. Because some loves aren't meant to be hidden behind palace walls. They're meant to fight. And that's what I decided to do. The night was thick with silence. Even the stars seemed to hide as I prepared for what I was about to do. The palace gates were guarded as always. But I knew every secret path, every unmarked door, every shadow where the cameras didn't reach. I'd grown up here. I knew how to disappear within its walls. Layla was being held in a private guest wing, not a prison, but close enough. The royal family didn't leave marks on paper. They left scars on hearts. My friend Omar met me by the back gate. His eyes darted nervously around. "Sheikh," he whispered, "if they catch you—" "I won't let them," I cut him off. "Just tell me where she is." He hesitated for a moment, then handed me a key card. "East Wing. Room 312, you have 10 minutes. I nodded once, then slipped into the corridors that had once felt like home. My heart was pounding, not out of fear, but something deeper. The thought of seeing her again, of freeing her, was the only thing keeping me steady. When I reached room 312, I paused. The door was slightly open, light spilling into the hallway. Inside, she sat by the window, her wrists bound lightly, a quiet strength in her gaze. "Layla," I whispered. She turned, and the moment our eyes met, the world stilled. "I knew you'd come," she said softly. I rushed forward and untied her hands. "We don't have much time. Omar's waiting by the exit." But before we could move, a voice echoed behind us. You think you can just walk away from this life? It was my father's advisor, the same man who had offered me the world. Behind him stood 2 guards, weapons lowered but ready. "Sheikh Hamdan," he said coldly. "Don't throw away your crown for a girl who has nothing." I looked at Layla, her eyes shining in the dim light. "She has more than you ever will," I said. "She has a heart." He laughed bitterly. "Then take your heart and leave everything else behind." The guards stepped forward, but before they could reach us, Omar appeared from behind, shouting, "Now!" We ran. Down the hall, through the courtyard, past the marble arches that had once symbolized honor, now only cages. My hand never left hers. Every echo of our footsteps felt like rebellion. At the back gate, Omar waved us through. The car was waiting. As soon as the gates opened, the desert wind rushed in, wild and free. And so were we. For hours we drove in silence. The city lights faded behind us, replaced by endless dunes glowing under the moon. It felt like leaving one world and entering another. When we finally stopped, the horizon was turning gold. The first light of dawn touched her face, and for the first time I saw her smile again. "We made it," she whispered. I nodded, breathless, exhausted, but alive. "They offered me the world," I said quietly. "But they forgot. The world means nothing without you." She laughed, her eyes wet with tears. "Then keep your heart," she said. "It's worth more than any crown." As the sun rose over the desert, I realized something profound. I hadn't lost my